Age of Empires 4.
Playing Age of Empires 4 makes you feel like one of the barbaric warlords of days past, commanding small, insignificant men to conquer lands far and wide, who are nothing to you but a mouth to feed, and a number scrawled down on a bloody sheet of papyrus paper. Age of Empires 4 is solely a real-time strategy game and no other genre, and it was developed by Relic Games, World's Edge, Forgotten Empires, and Climax Studios. That's a lot of developers. Age of Empires 4 does have a story mode, and it consists of 5 campaign missions separated into different chapters of each empire's history, as well as some tutorial missions for those of you that actually do tutorials, because I sure as hell don't. The campaigns are allegedly pretty accurate video game versions of battles that happened in real life. Though it exists, I'm pretty sure mostly people play this for the PvP, or the skirmishes against harder and harder bots with friends until we're comfortable enough to go online, or at least that's what I do. Anyways, in the campaign, you'll watch cutscenes explaining what's going on, and you'll be doing objectives like culling a village of rebel filth as a narrator explains why you're doing so.
As the French army struggled to regain control of the countryside, they were struck by a band of English routiers.
The campaign mode might not be for everybody, but it absolutely does target people who are history fans if it is historically accurate. Is it historically accurate? I sure as hell don't know, and I'm not about to do research like I'm doing a high school history class paper for a video about a video game to figure it out. You can play Age of Empires 4 with a controller or a mouse and keyboard on PC, though as mentioned in many other of our videos, I don't know why you'd want to because it would be a huge handicap in an RTS game to play with a controller. Here's the platforms you can play on. Crossplay is available, however cross progression is not available. And lastly, here are the menu settings for those reading enjoyers out there. Oh, you're still here and you haven't tapped the side of your phone like 40 times to skip through this? Normally nobody's here, I don't know what to say, sorry. The graphics are decent. Most RTS games have this problem that they can't make the graphics god tier because you can have up to 1,600 different units all on the map at once doing animations, remembering tasks, and fighting each other, and I'd imagine that this is something that's harder to optimize than most games. However, in terms of RTS games in general, it looks good. I don't have any complaints. Here's the system requirements. They, however, don't take into account 4v4s because if you do that, you'll be dropping frames pretty often if it gets to late game. I have a 2070 Super, 32 gigs of RAM, and 2 more cores than the recommended specs, and it still smacks my FPS come late game. A normal match of Age of Empires 4 goes as follows. Get in the lobby, change the game mode, win cons, resource amount, pick your civ, pick a map, and let it rip like Beyblade. Once you get in the game, you try to do exactly what the one guy in the YouTube guide for your civ did until you get rushed early and realize you have indeed screwed the pooch. However, if you make it past the first 15 to 20 minutes, that is where the game actually begins. You will be expanding outward from your base, upgrading units, making buildings and defenses, taking resource nodes, defending them from attacks, moving a military around, fighting enemy units over the resource nodes, trying to capture some control points around the map for one of the win cons, sending small groups of units to terrorize your enemy's countrysides, having your monks go bring relics back to monasteries to generate gold, and if the game goes really long, eventually build and defend a wonder to instantly win upon its completion. It's good old-fashioned Age of Empires gameplay, but modernized. And now, the mechanics. It's an RTS game, so you don't really do the fighting. You sit up in the sky mimicking some sort of god as your nameless, faceless, pixelated men die in droves in order for you to receive the most coveted currency of all, ELO, and bragging rights. There are things you can do that make it easier to command them, such as using the hotkeys and making control groups so you can look like those cracked out 400 APM Korean StarCraft players. You can order units to behave differently, like holding their ground, patrolling, attack moving, getting in different formations like the Flying V to fly south for the winter like eagles. Or the oh shit, they have Magna goals ahead formation, etc. But other than that, you're not going to show much mechanical skill aside from kiting with A-click if your units have range or speed advantage. Additionally, you can queue units, including military units, to do multiple actions sequentially, so you can have your villagers queued up to make like 15 military buildings and a lumber mill next to the trees so you don't have to worry about those villagers again, then hop right back to the combat. But if you do mess up, there's a select all idle villagers button, which is useful. Aside from ordering your units around, you can give your broke-ass friends some resources when your base gets destroyed early and you move into the back of their base like a little parasite and just decide to be an economic powerhouse and make a Silk Road trade route with 180 traders on the Malians and fund the war effort to eventually come back and win. The most important mechanic in Age of Empires is to age up. This has been the staple of Age of Empires gameplay for 20 plus years. In order to unlock stronger units, certain buildings, certain upgrades, etc., you have to build your age up building, which is a choice between two buildings that both do different things. For example, the Malian's Imperial age up is either an enhanced keep that buffs your units, or a building that you can spend gold at to give everyone on your team one of 3 temporary buffs. Something else that should be highlighted is the maps. There's a few that return from AoE too, some new ones, and of course downloadable community maps, which usually wrecks the AI's decision making. I'm not good enough at the game to tell you which ones are good and which ones are bad, but I do know that Dry Arabia is the true 1v1 map that pits every skill each player has against one another. It's basically just a flat open field with resources scattered throughout it. Then there's the more fun maps like Black Forest, which has hella trees and creates lots of little alleyways and choke points, not to mention you can cut through trees with villagers to flank. Pretty interesting map. And now, to expand on the civs. There are 16 of them all together, and each of them have a different gameplay experience due to the unique passives each civ gets. I've played basically the Malians exclusively for 80 hours because I like to have enough gold to fill the space between Mansa Musa's eyebrows in this depiction of him. So that's who I'm comfortable explaining. The Malians are a heavy economy-focused civ that are very good at getting gold and food due to their pit mines, which when placed on a gold vein grant passive gold generation forever based on how many houses are placed around it, up to 6. In addition to that, the Malians' watchtowers are replaced with toll outposts, which generate gold when traders pass through them to earn money, as well as being upgraded to shoot. And if you can get 20 to 30 traders going across the entire map with toll outposts along the way, gold issues will become a thing of the past. Then there's the Grand Fulani Corral, which if you build 7 pastures adjacent to it and slap 20 cows in them, you earn even more passive food, which is a nice little cherry on top. There's a bunch more to this civ too, but that's just what I wanted to highlight. And now, let's shine the spotlight on those whose lives are expendable. Your units. Each civ gets access to most of the economic and base units like villagers, which build and gather stuff, traders, which go from market to market and earn you gold, and then the generic archers, swordsmen, spearmen, horsemen, etc. Each unit type for the most part is designed to be a counter to a different unit type with damage bonuses versus specific unit archetypes. So if you want to get good, you'll have to pay attention to what your opponent is using so you can build a counter. Some civilizations have special units that might be more powerful, be made faster, or cost less resources than their basic counterparts. For example, the Malians can get javelin throwers, which get a +4 damage bonus to ranged infantry. Aside from other players, you also have the option to face off against bots. You can kind of use them as a metric for how ready you are for online. If you're getting doo-dooed on by the hard bot, you may want to keep ramming your face on the wall until you can at bare minimum beat a hardest bot by yourself, and even then you're still going to get shit on online, but at least you'll have the vaguest idea of what the hell's going on. And you can try to use that foundation to get good. Watch a guide, clean up your build order, stop the villager production downtime, build some early defenses, and you'll probably be able to smoke a hardest bot pretty reliably after a handful of attempts. You can play Age of Empires 4 with up to 8 players with teams of up to 4 players each. You can join other players through the multiplayer menu with normal quick matches versus other humans or AI, ranked if you want to try hard, solo or with teammates, custom games to join people's lobbies where the settings are probably going to be wonky, or just observe if you're feeling voyeuristic. So your teammates can let you know how dogshit you are if you play online. There is voice chat and text chat for your abusing pleasure. Cool? Not cool. I didn't experience bugs playing the game. The FPS drops were slightly annoying, but that's just the nature of the beast unless I go out and drop 2K on a beast of a computer right now, which just isn't worth it currently. The unit pathing is good, which can sometimes be a pain in RTS games. Combat overall just feels good. I don't have much bad to say about the game, although I will say that needing to have a wall partially built already in order to make a gate is slightly annoying. Its biggest problem is the problem all RTS games have: stagnation. It's just the same RTS formula that's been done and done and done and done all before. There's just not much evolution in the genre over the past 20 to 30 years. To recap, if you like RTS games in a medieval setting, you'll like AoE 4. It does what it's supposed to do correctly and with minimal problems. It's fun to attack and counterattack against your opponent. Maybe you notice he's got a bunch of archers and you start pumping out javelin throwers to counter them. Then you notice some knights going after your resource nodes on the outskirts of your base, so you make some spearmen to counter them. Then you beat back the attack and start building keeps and watchtowers to defend your resource camps, and it just goes back and forth and back and forth. Just a fun RTS game. On our patented 0 to 1 scale, we give this game a 0.69 out of 1. I enjoyed it a lot, and RTS enjoyers would enjoy it a lot, but when I go and ask my friends to play RTS games, there's only a certain few that will ever play because people are just bored of them, and the genre needs innovation. Just look at RTS game player counts and compare them to actual popular games of today. It's kind of dismal. If you liked this no bullshit review of Age of Empires 4, please mollywop that sub button. Be commanded, like an RTS unit, to press the like button and comment what kind of innovations you'd like to see in RTS games in the future. Thank you. Good night. And if you ever need to push a replacement ceiling joist forward during repairs and it won't seem to budge, screw a diesel framing screw into the bottom of it and pound it with a hammer to get it to move in the direction you want it to go.